Hello there, my name is Pierre Dracula, and this is our Tuesday video. We are continuing on with drawing cast portraits for the upcoming Noah's Archipelago book. It's going to be the first, I keep wanting to call it an anthology. That's not correct. Anthology means multiple authors. It's a comic collection of my web comic and is the first collection I have done for this project. So what I'm going to do is add in a meet the cast section at the front, and that requires cast portraits. So we've already done a bunch. We've got 2 left to do. This video we're going to do a portrait of Noah's wife Ruth teaching in her classroom. Next week we will have a portrait of Noah himself, and at that point everything's done for that book except for the cover. I may or may not film working on the cover. Anyways, let's get right to it. So Ruth is a 2nd grade teacher. She's all about reading, as we will be able to see here. And she does like rock music. Specifically, she likes like Creed and U2. But we have previously in the comic, we've seen her outside door, and it has a poster that says 2nd grade rocks. Here she's got a poster that says reading rocks. It's one of those things where it was always kind of a pet peeve of mine back in the day when I worked. It was kind of in the fringes of the music industry. I worked for a little indie record label. And I had my own project, which granted was more industrial, electronic, power noise than rock and roll. But, you know, I was raised on rock and roll. So it mattered to me. And there was a while, I don't think it's as popular now, but there was a while where everything was like, yeah, we're like rock stars. And like to the point where I had a gym class where it wasn't Zumba, but it was something along the lines, and you had these like sticks, so sometimes you'd like hit them together and sometimes you'd be waving them around and doing these stupid dance moves. And I remember at one point the instructor's like, yeah, you guys all feel like rock stars now. And after that I could never go back to that class. It's just like, shut up. You know, like it's like we're a bunch of old women. Well, I was in my 30s at the time, but you know, I felt old. You know, and I was like the youngest person in the room. So I was like, okay, it's a bunch of middle-aged women and boomer women. If any of them were rock and roll, it was in the 1980s. You know, it felt weird to me. That's just me being a dick, though. And I remember also, so I DJ'd at CITR Radio in Vancouver, which is on the UBC campus. And it's like college radio, but also campus community. So I was there well past when I was a student. And I remember these ads in like the women's washroom upstairs in the student union building at UBC. And it was like, tell us. It's like, and it was like some ad aimed at the teenagers to get like a cell phone plan. It's like, they have, you know, I don't know, have unlimited whatever for whatever dollars a month, so you can feel like a rock star. I'm like, rock stars don't care what their cell phones cost. If you're real, like, you think, well, actually, I don't know, maybe Bono's a tightwad and he does care, but he probably doesn't even know what his cellular bill costs. He has personal assistants who deal with that crap, right? Anyways, it's just such a... I think nowadays the term is inshitification, and you know, you kind of see where it's like, okay, Rockstar did have a meaning at some point, and then it just became so diluted. Anyways, I'm complaining about decor choices made by one of my characters, but which technically, obviously, that means I made the decor characters, but that's because I'm kind of making fun of a certain type of woman. So, yeah. Anyways, so Ruth is going to have a lot of reading rocks type of thing. Anyways, and then she's looking down because we're not going to show her students, but we'll assume that they're over here, you know, down here somewhere. But just gonna make some adjustments with my screens. Maybe, yeah, that's probably better for now. But anyway, so yeah. Oh, right. I'd lost my train of thought. But what I think I was starting to say is if you're a regular on the channel and you're going, why is this pre-recorded and not a live stream? Well, I decided that streaming 6 days a week really not working for me. Gets in the way of other things. The time of day when I would actually be, I think, at my best in terms of, talking, which is kind of important, I guess, and as well as doing good drawing work and whatnot, is earlier in the day when I'm not tired. But the time that I can consistently be available for a live stream and know I'm not going to get interrupted is like in the evenings. So I've been finding it kind of exhausting. And also, evenings is when most, I do belong to a few different clubs and whatnot. And a couple of them do meet during the day. And I may or may not be able to attend those meetings depending. But like two of my favorite ones, the Garden Club and my writers group, meet in the evenings. And I have not been able to attend this year because I have been streaming. So that's a problem. It also interferes sort of with going to Toastmasters. Toastmasters technically is over before my stream, but it runs at such a point when, I like having some decompression time, for lack of a better word, before going live. I like to clear my head so I can concentrate on drawing as opposed to like hurry in the door, sit down and go, which means that I have not been to Toastmaster, or I've been once, maybe twice this year. And that was on days when I knew I wasn't going to be able to stream because I had something like, like a parish AGM or whatnot that happens once a year, and it's really important, I feel, to go to it. So I canceled my stream that day, which meant that I was able to go to Toastmasters. Anyways, it's a whole thing. It even impacts like, what when would I want to run my dishwasher or my laundry? Well, both of those are within 15 feet of this desk and they're loud. So then it's like, oh, now I'm not running those at the most convenient time because I can't, because I got to stream. Anyways, it's the whole thing. So I've decided that I'm going to cut back on streaming. I will still be streaming, at least for throughout the summer. I'll stream on Fridays and Saturdays. So my recap video on Saturdays, and then my Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat, Ricky B. Goes to Sea graphic novel work on Fridays. So there will still be that. I'm probably going to cut this drawing a little short and not necessarily put in Ruth's legs. So we'll probably have it trimmed like that. So if you're wondering why I'm just like ending those lines and not caring, that's why. So I will keep those as live for now. And also, actually, I'll probably, let me just kind of, actually, I'm even going to come higher. The hand looks weird, that's why. So, Noah is getting a full page for his portrait. Everybody else has got a half page. So Ruth proportionally will just be cropped in a little bit like that. Anyways, what I was starting to say is I don't want to not share what I'm doing with my art. So what I'm going to do, therefore, is pre-record videos. Probably for the summer, I'll pre-record, so that ends up being the same, like 6 videos a week, 2 of them live, but 2 of them will be live and 4 will be pre-recorded. I'll evaluate in August whether I want to then cut that back further and maybe just have like a Ricky video, a Miles, or a Noah video, and a Zomo video plus my recap. So that would then go down to 4 videos a week, because currently we've got 2 Ricky and Miles and 2 NOAA videos per week. So we'll see. But I do think, definitely I think I need to adjust and kind of make, trim some stuff down because, yeah, I've been getting a lot of stuff done on stream for books, which is great, but also it hasn't necessarily been the most effective way to do it. Especially I find with the stream, because you don't want to ignore chat. So that means then every 5 seconds I'm drawing, but I stop and I'm looking up there at the screen. Do I have anything on the chat? Yes or no? If yes, then I'll respond. If no, then I go that. But even if there's nothing there, because I'm trying to check it constantly, it's interrupting. So the drawing takes longer and it breaks focus. And also, lately I've had people asking, it's not just been lately, but I've had people ask, okay, can you draw X, Y, or Z? And I have previously been kind of oh, okay, yeah, because you want to be nice to viewers and stuff like that, and they're making requests and all this stuff. But then if I'm doing a video like this one, if this was live, and I'm saying I'm drawing Noah's wife in her classroom, but then I get to this point and I stop and I start drawing, an anime character or something like that because of the chat. I don't think that's fair to the people who tuned in who want to see the Ruth video, right? And that may be a small number of people here, but it adds up, right? And the reality is I draw what I draw and I'm best at what I draw. But if I'm drawing somebody else's stuff, like one of the characters and whatnot, I'm not a production animation artist where you learn to kind of suppress your own style in order to draw somebody else's characters. That's not me. So I'm never going to do as good a version of that as I would drawing my own stuff. So it's kind of... So then it kind of also sucks for the person who's making that request because whatever they had in their mind of what it would look like, it's not going to look like that when I sketch it. Especially when it's, random character, maybe not random, but, characters from stuff that I've never watched and I'm not familiar. If I have to, stop and Google, I don't think I'm doing a good job for them either. So, I think I made a note a couple days ago on my, or last week, on my YouTube channel, just telling people, I won't entertain drawing requests until the end of a stream. So, so as to not interrupt the flow for people who are there for watching what I actually advertised. And that would kind of do my own take. So that's how I'm going to be dealing with that. But also, it is a problem that becomes eliminated with pre-recording the video. But again, I can also focus better. I can draw better. The video that I posted for yesterday, Jeff versus Big Mike, that was still a long video, but, I was focused throughout it. So anyways, that's kind of where things are at. Now, let's... I've got the main portrait here. I am going to... Ruth normally wears a kind of a gray dress, but I'm going to fill that in, I think, kind of at the end because I can put my hand here and access that without smudging any of the other stuff. But let's add in some classroom decorations. We obviously don't see her entire classroom, but we see a bit, right? So the classic thing, of course, would be if this is her whiteboard or a smartboard. I think they kind of use both now. I'm old enough that I remember the chalkboards with the squeaky chalk and whatnot. Although a lot of teachers, especially in high school and junior high, they did the overhead projector thing. So that was, I guess, the whiteboard before the whiteboard. think the first time I saw classrooms that had whiteboards in them, I think that was at university. I could be wrong. I don't think they had any of that stuff at, you know, at my high school. I think it was all chalk or whatever. So now actually, and I probably should have drawn Ruth's alphabet first. So, but let's assume that this is in the middle. Some teachers now will have like a huge wide whiteboard within a smartboard screen in the middle of the front, but then they have a whiteboard at the side, bulletin boards at the side, whatever. Let's assume this is at the front. So probably she's going to have her alphabet centered. So roughly the center here, and there's going to be, let me see, I think M is the middle, right? Yeah, M is the 13th letter. So she's going to have her sign here. And we'll assume that these are all separate pages that have been laminated. When I started doing this cartoon, because like I have vague recollections of elementary school, but I wouldn't say I have the most detailed, and things are different now too. So I started looking on YouTube for like, I started searching online and I found like teacher tubes, teacher YouTube videos and whatnot. Actually watch Mrs. Katie in elementary school because she's a third grade teacher in Florida, and that kind of jives with, Ursula is in third grade. So it's been interesting to watch her channel and some of the other ones also, and see all the different things that teachers put up for decorations now, and for, teaching stuff around the classroom. Ruth, for the purposes of this cartoon, her her alphabet's going to be pretty small. That one kind of, the P should have been further down, but whatever. The little one, I mean. And I've drawn Ruth with, I think I will add like a bulletin board here on this side. And then she'll have her, the wavy edged paper borders that the teachers all have. I don't know if they all have it, but a lot of them have it. Some of this is going to get cut off too. And I may crop the paper too, because my scanner will, this is 9 by 12. My scanner only does 8.5 by 11. So I'll probably crop it at this side, kind of right on that border. So this will kind of be a little trimmed, and yeah. Anyways. Whenever I first laid this out, I wasn't really thinking about that angle. And we're going to assume that this bulletin board says Rockstar Work or something like that, which in Ruth's case, the case of Ruth's classroom, she doesn't mean, being passed out on, being photographed a la Slash in the early days, Slash and Izzy. She means, really cool work, but anyways. Probably crop it because I kind of do want this board to show up, We'll give it some dotted texture to make sure that it's clear that it's like a cork board. I mean, probably a lot of teachers, I think, cover these with paper, rolls of paper, so that they aren't just plain cork. But then cork was kind of sort of fashionable a couple years ago. Actually, probably, I guess, more like 5 or 6 years ago now. So maybe Ruth is leaving them bare because she's a little behind the times on the trends. I'm being so mean. So I have that. Now we need to shift over a little bit. And I mean, worst case scenario, if I decide I like both ends, I'll just have to scan it twice and sew it together in Photoshop. But what do we want to bet that Ruth is one of those teachers who has like fake disco ball in her classroom? I feel like she is. And in case it sounds like I'm casting shade on her, well, I kind of am, but also I have a. If you've seen my vlogs from February, you know that I have one in my studio. So mine isn't this big though, but it is motorized. To have over here, maybe this is going to be her book of the week. I'm going to have to work backwards to make sure that I have enough space. Quick little pause there for me to do some research as to second grade reading materials. I wouldn't frickin' know. You know, I read above my grade level. So, I understand there's one called Magic Treehouse, and that sounds like a fun one to go for. I have no idea what the cover of it looks like, and I think for the purposes of not infringing on copyright, I'm going to just draw my take on a treehouse. It'll probably not be anything like what the book actually looks like. Over here, the very edge, let's assume that Ruth has. I've seen some teachers where they have like a calendar and it's actually kind of like it's got little plastic pockets in it. So let's assume whatever month this is one where Sunday is the first. And then I realized she needs another row, but whatever. The idea then is the teachers can just change out the numbers in these little plastic pockets. So then that makes their lives easier, and they know it's big, the numbers are easily read, etc. So what else can she have? Maybe she's got some like bunting or whatever that she's got above the number line just for decoration. Streamers or something like that. But well, that's a problem. I'm gonna make a note down here. Fix disco ball. I was not intending for that ink to land there. That's something I can fix in Photoshop. I know from experience, if I try to mop it up, it's just going to make it worse. So made it like shadow, and then in Photoshop, I can go and put in some white little squares that will make it look like the mirror tiles. But the bottom would be kind of shadowy. Anyways, so let's now kind of add some tint onto Ruth's dress. She has like a dozen of these. They're all kind of variations. There was a Noah cartoon where she's arguing with Noah because he's kind of accidentally let it slip that he thinks that she wears the same thing too much, you know, and she needs to mix it up. And then she holds up these three dresses. They're all identical, basically identical, but one's like a gray, a purplish gray, one's a bluish gray, one's a greenish gray. And she's like, these are not even close to the same dress. They were identical, basically, other than very subtle differences in tone. And he's just looking at her going like, okay, honey, I believe you. So she's normally like, she likes slate blue and, you know, jade green and that sort of thing. She also tends to wear heavy eyeshadow, so we can kind of do that in here. Not that she doesn't have other colors. I mean, we do see her in, I mean, she goes to the gym, she's wearing a white t-shirt and blue shorts. She has purple and pink nightgowns. There was one cartoon that I had her where they were at the fall fair and she was wearing a turquoise, like an aqua colored dress. And not this style, like it was like a sundress, kind of like spaghetti straps and lower cut and whatnot, right? So, you know, she does mix it up at times. And she does have a Mrs. Claus outfit, although I'm pretty sure that is Noah's doing because he's the one who likes to dress up for holidays. So, you know, he's the one who would have insisted on a Santa and Mrs. Claus costume combo. She did have one really short, really tight red dress, but she put it in the donation pile on the grounds that it's too short and skimpy and too tight now. And Noah's like, but that was what makes it awesome. Noah probably rescued it out of the donation pile and hid it in the hopes of getting her to wear it again. I'll just have the indication of a different poster over here. And maybe this one's something about math. Math is cool. Yeah, okay. Whatever you say, lady. And I think we will call it at that. So I'm going to now swap out to that. Just, you know, throwing it out there. That's the rats, Ricky and his buddy Miles. I don't have a Noah specific subscription thing yet. But yeah, do subscribe if you enjoy the show. And we will burst out to that. And thank you for watching. Like I said, I post regularly. My schedule is going to be a little bit up in the air after the summer, but for the foreseeable, for the short term anyways, I'm posting a video 6 days a week. And yeah, so we will have more Noah stuff as we progress. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and what I will leave you guys with my little outro music and the overlay of the playlist links, I will leave you with a link for the Noah's Archipelago related videos. Hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. See you again real soon. Bye for now.